where did we go wrong on power capacity? You know, when we say we require 13,000 megawatts to drive our production, you know, or capacity of our production as a country, how are we going to cover that gap of what we have? You know? So when the president stands up and says, people, we need to change our approach on things, otherwise we won't realize the dream, our shared dream. He is not really looking to dampen, you know, anybody's vision. All he's saying is, we need to recalibrate and really see how we can leapfrog from where we are to where we want to go. And that's why I think some things have changed and changed drastically. And I think they will. And they need to do so as a matter of supreme urgency because of where we want to go.
Hey there and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa. I hope it's not too late to say Happy New Year to our guest because we've not seen him this year. Mr. Gabriel Muthuma, Government Deputy Spokesperson. Karibu sana tena Alpha House.
Sarah, asante sana for your invitation and Happy New Year to our viewers. Yes, we've not actually had a sit down in 2026. This is our first time, but mwaka ijaenda vile.
So, bado tunaweza sema.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, lakini ishafika past 20th.
20 days, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's always an honor to sit down with you.
Fantastic. We're happy to have you today. And it's actually very interesting. You know, I was going through the president's Twitter account because technically that's like where we get what the government is doing.
Correct.
For the people. And for the whole month of January so far, let's say, because I went all the way to 29th December 2025 to as of today morning. And the only things that have been posted there are Nyota and UDA grassroots, what are the meetings?
Yes.
What is that about from where you sit?
Are you sure those are the only things happening?
Those are the main ones posted.
Oh,
the other one, there was
ones.
yes, because the other one when he's meeting with ambassadors, you know, but the ones that are direct for the people.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know whether you're looking. The question that you're asking is what are they? I think Nyota, as you know very well, it's an amazing, huge undertaking. You know, through the Ministry of MSMEs. And where now we have this great program that the government rolled out where young people, and it started last year, where young people are getting funding to enter into any commercial space of their choice. And when I say funding, it's not money they are giving back. So you have the first tranche, which is 25,000, and then the other one is 25,000 after, you know, they see or they do a follow-up on what you're doing. And the real testimonies that are coming out is that many people who have taken this money have already started using and putting it into good use.
Hey, before we
After
go,
training,
wait. Hey, you've gone from 0 to 100 quick fast.
That's what
I would want to understand what inspired, because before you start a project,
right,
you usually have a market research or survey of something. What inspired this particular project with the assumption that people just need 50,000 to run businesses?
Let me give you a scenario. And Sarah, allow me to use the data that has been provided. I was looking at the data 2025 or 2024, around there. And it came to the knowledge of many that the common borrower, and here I'm using Fuliza and the amount of money they borrow from the techno companies. Monthly, the average borrowing is 8,000. 8,000. 8,000 nane is the average. And so I think in the backdrop of that, you have so many people, even in our Hustler Fund program, the average borrowing, you know, Hustler Fund starts, you know, with
500 bob.
yes, with less money, but then you build up, that rating. I know so many people today, Hustler Fund, who are getting very good money through Hustler Fund. And the interest rates, as you know, are actually geared to the common mwananchi. So when you look at that average borrowing of 8,000 a month vis-a-vis what Nyota is giving, and also Nyota is very targeted, because for the longest there was this, and this is something I would like you to really encompass, because it gives you the people that were being targeted. The target environment was, number one, people who've not gone past Form 4. People who have been in unique trades, like, what do you call them? Like plumbers, like masons, but they did not have a certificate to show for it. Those were the people who Nyota was targeting and is targeting. For the longest, we've dealt with people who have what we call, quote unquote, papers. Mtu alimaliza masomo ya university and what have you. Amemaliza masomo ya technical colleges, But we never, for the longest, in fact, I don't think there's a program really that targeted people on the demography that Nyota is targeting. And so obviously countrywide you saw quite a lot of young men and women came and really enrolled. Today, as we speak, we just came on Monday, not today. On Monday, we had a very successful event in Kasarani. Before that, we had, one in Nyeri. And it was combining, several counties. In Nairobi, we were combining Nairobi, Kiambu, and Kajiado. Today, there is the Nyota activation again in Meru. So, and I think it's one program that is going to go around Kenya.
What is the goal of this program?
Really, if you look at it, is assisting that demography that I've told you, many of whom have businesses, like the people who've been interviewed, those that have come forward, apart from those that are starting new businesses, you have some who will tell you, by the way, I just need, a boost in my business. They're already doing something. It's not there yet, but, they get really great assistance. And remember what I've told you, the average borrowing, so when you give somebody 25,000, that in itself, it's like you've boosted them 3 months.
So that's someone already who has a business.
But yet, there are also others who say, you know what, I had this idea. And these are real life testimonies. I had this idea, and all I needed to start was 5,000. All I needed was 10,000. Now you've committed some good financing. And forget the naysayers when they say, what will somebody do with 22,000? Trust me, so many people are going to put that amount into proper use, because I have seen it. I have seen, and I can give you an example, I have seen Mama Mbogas, you remember, who used to borrow 2,000 and pay it at the end of the day.
Those are existing businesses.
Those are existing businesses. And even Nyota, you still have existing businesses. Mm-hmm. But you also have this new crop of young men and women who are now becoming entrepreneurial.
Owner, assuming I want to start, and you give me, it's between 25 and 50K. Mm-hmm. And licensing.
The first tranche is 25, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Licensing takes around 30K for me to,
correct,
let's say, a kinyozi business.
Yes, that is true.
So
that is very
I'm
true.
Doing license 30K.
Yes.
And there's rent,
yes,
which sometimes usually told 2 months.
Right.
Assuming it's 10K rent. So that's 20. Mm-hmm. So, and there's nothing else. Cost of running business is at 0.
Yes.
So how will I move from that?
Sarah, good question on the licensing. Guess what? In fact, all counties have agreed, all of them, bar none, that they will waive off that fee. Music to so many years, these young men and women who are getting into this. So that is one area that has given so many people reprieve. there's an example that came out, and this because it was live, of this young man who's doing pig farming, a group actually in Dandora. And they said, Your Excellency, they were telling the president, Your Excellency, with this money we are going to pay the licensing, just like what you've said. We'll pay Kanjo, we'll pay health, things like those. And then the president told them, hey, Governor of Nairobi is here. Johnson Sakaja, come. That fee has been waived. So the president asked him, so with this new money, what are you going to do? And the guy was right on the bet.
So are the Kanjo police aware? Because they are,
they are very.
It's announced here by a governor.
They are very aware.
So how will you separate other people who've been running businesses then?
Definitely you will. Remember, it's a demography. It's a demography.
No, if you have 4 Kenyans here, how will you separate us?
Sarah, the people that Nyota is funding are very well known. The messages are there. The funding is there. It is already well known. Yeah? So, do not take your sights out of that demography that I've told you, including the age factor. So people with existing vineyards, obviously, these are people who've been in trade for longest, or who lipa licenses and what have you. Yeah. So there are so many people who will not dive into that nyota. And then, Sarah, we do not expect that somebody who's been given that boost, in fact, allow me to call it a boost, of nyota, to be in the same situation in the next 5-10 years. Many, I am sure, many will grow into very big businesses. And that's why you keep hearing the president say, do not despise humble beginnings. I have seen people with about 10, 20,000 shillings. They start something, and before you say cut and a half, 3 years later, you go and find somebody has a wholesale. We met a young man in Kirinyaga, by the way. True story. And this young man had a spreadsheet. And what he was telling us is, I have done my math. Evan's his name. I have done my math. And he was saying, if I get this boost and I continue with this trajectory, he was telling me, Gabriel, in 18 months, God willing, he'll be hitting plays of 700,000 to 1 million. So this is somebody who has an idea.
That's assuming all factors held constant.
All factors held constant. Yeah, that's how we create what do you call it? Forecasts. All factors remaining constant. But there is the element of where I have seen people really chastising that project. Many leaders come out and say, this is small money, it won't do much. You saw when Hustler Fund started, people asking, what will 500 do? Sarah, there are people who borrow as little as 200 shillings a day. There are people who borrow sometimes. You will find somebody telling you, nitumie 100 ya fare. Okay? We cannot envelope this negativity that everything and anything the government sets her sights to doing
I don't think it's
negated.
Even a negativity, because why people question it also could be because of the lessons. I don't know what lessons you actually took from Hustler Fund, because then for it not to be as deemed successful like Nyota Fund, then there must be reasons, setbacks, that it didn't work as...
No, not really. Not really, Sarah. Daily people are borrowing money to the tune of 50 million. Daily. Is that not success? At any scale, to me, that is success. But the other true genius behind Hustler Fund still suffices. The true genius behind Hustler Fund is you building your credit rating. You have people today, in the next few years, depending on how well they'll build their credit, they can go to a commercial bank and take a loan worth millions. That's the true genius behind Hustler Fund. And let me tell you, that is how even, I remember when I was in school, that is how I built my credit rating. I was given a school card. It was obviously, they used to come and give those cards in school. Mine had $200. Yeah, it was a credit card. And all I used to do with that credit card, with my small hustle, I only used it for fuel, to fuel my little car that I used to go my hustle around, go to school and do my other two small biasharas. And with time, as time grew, the limit was increased. It kept increasing. It kept increasing. And one day I said, you know what? This kaka has turned into a kajelopi. Now it's not even serving me well. And I went into an institution. All I did was check my credit rating. And guess what, Sarah? I did not require any other form of collateral. They gave me money to get a better vehicle. Now imagine, that is the same credit score, building on better, that one day walked into a bank and got a mortgage.
That's very important, but we also need to agree the markets were different.
No. You see,
I mean, was it in UK or US?
US, but notwithstanding,
Yeah.
that is the same principle applied. You know, and I know we'll talk about Singapore. What do you think we are talking about when we talk about going to Singapore? It's the same principle applied. You see, Sarah, sometimes the way an umbrella is used in London, in France, is the same way, is the same principle applied when you open an umbrella in Nairobi. You get?
Yeah.
So sometimes we look at, we say, oh, the markets are different. No, principally, you apply the same principle most of the time, you will get the same results.
Okay. This Nyota Fund is a World Bank fund, right? Mm-hmm. So
funded.
It's not Kenyan money, let's put it that way, right? Because it's money from outside.
You know,
does it mean that we are borrowing to come and fund these small businesses without an assurance that we can only hope that these young people will succeed, because that's how you operate as a human being anyway. But are we borrowing to fund that? Yet as we speak, our borrowing, our debt is at 12 trillion. And we keep saying we're not.
Can I tell you something, Sarah? You know, the World Bank has so many programs.
Yes.
You know, the World Bank has so many grants. You know that?
Yes.
You know, the World Bank and IMF, they have so many collaborations.
Yes.
Yeah? Nyota is one of them. Yeah? So when I hear people say, and it's good that you've asked that question. So when I hear people say, we are borrowing this money. No. The mere fact that there's collaboration between the World Bank and how many grants, we've received so many grants in their billions from these institutions. You know, the one thing I'm liking about Nyota really is that you are injecting capital and asking somebody not to return. The only thing we are asking is proper usage of it. And that's why you hear the president has made it a clarion call every time he talks about it. Yes, sometimes he may do it as a banter, but he tells them, you know, hii pesa saa hii ukipata hii pesa, watu wataanza kukuita majina, watakuita boss, watakuita, you know, all those names, bazoo and what have you. The idea behind it is for the young men and women, after finishing the training, because those who've been given this money have gone through the training. They've, gone through the training, and there will also be a very well curated follow-up. How are you doing? Biashara yako inaendelea namna gani? Shida gani? Matatizo gani? Nini. And remember, I told you this is the first tranche. From 25, 3,000 going to saving, NSSF, and the other one coming in. So all in all, somebody will go, or their business will have a capital injection of 50,000. To me, that is a lot of money. To biashara tule tudogo mimi nishaanza tukiwa mtaani Mathare. If you had given me that money back then, and I know you can say, everything remaining constant, back then things were different, ingenipeleka mbali sana. So we have met, Sarah, we have met young men and women who, when you look at their eyes are full of promise.
This falls under the Ministry of
MSMEs.
MSMEs, that's Oparanyas.
Yes,
I would
Oparanyas
want
and
to
PS
know
Mangeni.
what their research says and how they intend to hold accountability of this fund.
Good question. Good question. It's a new program. Let's give it time. Let's give it time.
How much time?
I won't compute that now. You know, the program, we're still going around Kenya.
Yeah.
You know, activating. I would say let's give it time. Probably you can point to several months, 6, 1 year. Let's give it time. I am so sure the success stories will be more than the negative ones.
It's good we give it time, but I actually thought they might have run a test run of some sort, but if it's not there, then let's
a test
give
run
it time
of the success test
said.
run. How do you run a success test run before you put, or before you establish a business, or before, you know, the people who probably have started businesses, they'll tell you, if I get this capital injection in the next 7 or in the next 1 year, I'll have made this. You know, that's a good success story, and probably you can use that. The young man I found, you know, in Kirinyaga, he does, you know, rice, but in very, you know, in very small scale. And he needed a boost to just increase his stock. You know, he has people, he has areas where, you know, he has customers. And his biggest problem was some direct injection of funding to boost his stock. So if you are to ask me, somebody like that, who has a spreadsheet already, they know if they get this kind of money, you know, how far they can go. That just tells you, uni mtu anafikiria. And Nyota is not the only avenue, if you allow me to tell you this, Sarah. As you grow your small business, other avenues will come. You know, you will be able to probably build your Hustler Fund profile. Many people are doing that. Key to Hustler Fund is you pay back. Nyota you don't, but Hustler Fund, you pay back. And as you do so, you build a profile. So as you grow your business here, you're building your credit rating. Who knows in 3 years the kind of rating that you'll have? Now, to boost your business, you will not need any Nyota funding. You know what you will need? You will need to walk into a commercial bank and tell them, guys, look at my credit score. Look how responsible I am. And just by that, no collateral needed. Imagine if they can give you 500,000 or 1 million. So I usually say this, Sarah, the idea behind it is as powerful as the implementation. Yeah? The goodwill is there. So to the people who are getting Nyota, what me and you can ask of them is to live out to the true meaning that they have had an opportunity and they should not throw that opportunity away.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'm looking at it from a global perspective in a way. Just last year, when Trump became the president of the US, he withdrew funding for USAID and withdrew the US from other NGOs that they were funding. Yeah. And World Bank again is contributed a lot by the United States, right? And the IMF. Right. Have you thought about what would happen to a country like Kenya if he says, no, we're not going to fund people now? And of course now World Bank and IMF hold their monies. Like, what would happen for Kenya? Because that's an investment by the World Bank.
It's a good question again, Sarah, but I would really hope it doesn't happen. Yeah,
we're in a world where things are happening. He's
I agree.
The president.
I agree. But
like, what's our alternative?
But as you have seen, even before we talk about the alternative, I think we have combined resilience, and I don't want to say luck. We've combined resilience and a very good positive outlook on things. When many other countries are being put on, on areas where They cannot get their visas to travel to the US. They have to pay or they have to deposit certain amounts of money. I've been reading $10,000, $15,000. Kenya has actually been very. I don't want to use the word luck.
I think we're
But
just
I
lucky.
think no. I think it's because we've done something. If you look at apart from the renewal of AGOA, if you look at our trade with the US, it has increased, right? If you look at our diplomatic channels of engagement, they are bringing prosperity. Just the other day, our president was invited, by President Donald Trump to go and be a witness of these two great nations, our neighbors, Congo, DRC, and Rwanda, as they sign a peace treaty. Apart from that, you saw Mark Rubio and PCS, Musalia Mudavadi, getting into an agreement of where now they are going to channel the money to our healthcare system. That just tells you, Sarah, there is something positive that we are doing. We are not just another country in East Africa, but we are a strategic partner with the United States. And by the way, Kenya has been one of the longest allies of the United States. So I don't believe that friendship is something you can just wake up and throw it under a fluffy rag of forgetfulness. But as you've asked your question, I mean, we are living in times of great complexities. I agree with you.
So we don't have a plan B as of now.
I mean,
Or C,
would you have a plan B by saying the way things are happening will no. That's you don't think like that. You don't think like that. What we have done, we have built a very good platform of partnership with that country. So it is hard for them to just wake up and, same way we can't wake up and just unilaterally do things. It depends on how are we diplomatically. And I think our diplomatic channels with the United States are amazing. They are very good. They're very good.
I like your faith and the fact that you're not having any, like President Trump is not making you rethink strategies. It's crazy, man.
No, you remember?
Because you see, the threats he's even giving, let's say to Greenland, to Iran, it's not that they've not had a relationship with Denmark.
Well, I mean, you, as a first world, as a country that, is revered as being the most powerful nation on earth, they look at their strategic advantages. Personally, I won't know what those are. I would speak on my beautiful, beloved Kenya. And by the look of things, by the collaborations, by the discussions, by our diplomatic channels, by what they are able to do for us in matters health, in matters technology. Just look at AGOA. I mean, it goes on to tell me that we are riding on very great friendship.
Okay. Good thought. Now, somewhere in January, which is, I think, last week, if I'm not wrong, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o and a team of other experts were in State House to present, I think, a document that's supposed to align the bottom-up economic agenda with Vision 2030. Does it mean we killed Vision 2030 or we put it on hold? Because when I checked the Vision 2030 website, the last update was actually in 2017. So since 2017...
To be honest, I've not checked much on the Vision 2030. I know there was a secretariat, but the document that you're talking about, that Professor Anyang' and his team went or presented to His Excellency, it actually also talked about moving Kenya to a first world. You noticed that. And Sarah, that has been our clarion call. Vision 2030 was coming to a date. We were arriving, and we are how many years removed now? Maybe 4. And I think we've achieved some things, not everything, but we have achieved some things. But of importance to me, and I think to the administration that I serve, is how do we get to this proverbial Singapore, quote unquote, the proverbial Canaan land, or Canaan that the late Honorable Raila Odinga kept talking about. You see, I have not seen the document, but I know the raft. Some of the things that would get us there. I told you we operate heavily on principles that have worked. So, even with this document that the Professor has presented, what it discusses is how do we get Kenyans and Kenya as a country to a first world.
So is it different from what was in the manifesto?
Whose manifesto?
The UDA manifesto, because the manifesto kept saying we want to move Kenya to the next level. So is it anything?
No. I don't think it would be. If anything, I think it would marry to make it better. You see, UDA's manifesto was very clear and is very clear at the point, at the interventions that would take us to that next level that you're talking about. And I believe when you look at the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the destination of better is the first world, aka what we now have dubbed Singapore.
Before we get to Singapore,
yes.
I want to understand, if we cannot achieve Vision 2030, which was a blueprint for 30 years only, and again, the other, I think last year, the president was saying Kenya will get to Singapore in like 30 years in his lifetime, then why can't we work with these 5, finish whatever was on Vision 2030 first? Because again, I want to imagine it is in line with the Singapore dream.
It is, but you see, again, you will go to what you told me, all factors remaining constant. I don't think we've deviated a lot from Vision 2030. If you look at some of the things that Vision 2030 was talking about, I actually saw them carried. Things like housing, things like universal healthcare, all these things. Every administration, I think, since independence, I think that was our target. Where did we get sidelined? I do not know. But the truth of the matter, from where I'm seated, as a good student of governance, Sarah, I'll tell you, it all rises and falls on leadership. It does.
That's
so
true.
if we have lost way, I'm just saying, if we have lost way, then other things took center stage than realizing the dream of Vision 2030 or where Kenya should be. I mean, if we were talking about an industrial nation, we need to ask ourselves, Sarah, where did we go wrong on power capacity? When we say we require 13,000 megawatts to drive our production, or capacity of our production as a country, how are we going to cover that gap of what we have? So when the president stands up and says, people, we need to change our approach on things, otherwise we won't realize the dream, our shared dream. He is not really looking to dampen, anybody's vision. All he's saying is we need to recalibrate and really see how we can leapfrog from where we are to where we want to go. And that's why I think some things have changed and changed drastically. And I think they will. And they need to do so as a matter of supreme urgency because of where we want to go. Sarah, trust me, you would want to see a country where we have fewer, let me use the word fewer, or no slums. Better yet, no slums. You would want to see and live in a country where we have the best quality medicine that money can afford. You would want to live in a country where your children or your grandchildren have quality education.
Thank you
Those
for
are some of
touching
the-
that.
yeah?
We are at a point where we are having a crisis
Yes.
in the education sector.
Yes.
And we can't ignore.
Yes.
We have seen in the news there are schools where CBC, grade 10, schools nobody has reported.
Yes.
Schools where they just have 2 students. That I saw in the news yesterday. And we are okay.
No, that
As a government,
no, we are not
how
okay.
are you okay when
No.
kids are home because they can't afford?
We are not okay. Let me tell you, we are not okay. And it would be such a lie if anybody concocted that the government is okay. Yeah.
So if the government is not okay, what
let me
have
tell
they
you,
done for the 2
the
weeks?
interventions that you have been seeing all point towards a place. I don't know whether you saw what, and I have it with me, I can show you. I don't know whether you saw what, is it the chair of the Kesha, yeah, who came out and said for the first time in the history of this country, underline that, the first time in the history of our country.
You like that line.
It is true. They had received capitation before schools opened. You get that?
I hear that.
Why?
And I saw it.
Why? It is an intervention. It was not there before. There are things, obviously, that had gone so wrong that we now must fix. Are we going to fix them in a day, a week, a month? No. They will take time to be fixed. As you implement systems that will take charge and ensure efficiency, there is that gap where things actually will look as if they are so gory and horrible.
But do you realize, Gabriel, that we are gambling with people's children?
Notwithstanding, I have seen calls. Yeah? I've had text messages. Many I can show you, where somebody's saying, you know what? Mtoto wangu ameitwa hii shule, you know, I don't have this money. I don't have this money. But do you know something, Sarah? You know, this is not a new issue for us. It's always been there for the longest. But what are we doing to address it? I can guarantee you right now, people within the Ministry of Education are sitting down to see how they are going to work out that situation. And that is a good thing when you bring minds together. We have to look at, why? Because, I mean, we promised 100% transition.
So does it mean then we do not prepare as a government?
No.
We did not foresee it?
No. It has got nothing to do with preparation.
How
Obviously,
did we get there?
You know, at one point I served in the Ministry of Education, and I know the kind of movement that happens when people are transitioning. It is not an easy process. Yeah? There's going to be issues within and without, you know, that particular platform. But take it from me, Sarah. In about 3 months, you won't hear those things again.
In 3 months?
Give it 3-4 months, you won't hear of them.
So that would be for grade 10?
Yes.
Have we thought about grade 11 and 12? Or, because you see, this is the first class, which obviously we expect would have a few challenges, but these ones are now not a few, they're like out. So have we thought of when they get to 11 and 12?
You know, again, not to remove the sagacity involved in adapting to the new system. Sarah, there has been challenges on the CBC. And those challenges have actually been heavy and huge, because I've sat in meetings where guys are really cracking their heads. And it would be easier to point a finger and say, no, you know, this system, we got it from we can't say that. Governments exist in perpetuity. We have to fix that problem. All right? We can say maybe somebody allowed it to go for long. Yeah? But it has to be arrested one way or the other. Like the good question you've asked, have we thought about year 12 and year 13? Yeah? Same way today. You're talking about a class having 2 people. There are places where children are, I think, 60 in one class. What does that tell us? That we need to continue building classes. Has that been done? Yes. The interventions, as you can see, are already in place. When we are coming in, Sarah, and this is good, by the way, because it balances the questions you are asking about the challenges that we are facing in our academic, in our academic calendar. We knew 5, 6 years ago, we knew we had a deficiency, a serious deficiency on the number of teachers. Because some of the schools that you're talking about, there were no teachers. So what do you do as a parent? When your son anakuja nakwambia, mama, kuna kitu tumefanya, all we've done today is play. Day 1, day 2, same thing. As a self-respecting parent, what will you do? You move your child. So we knew that there was a very serious deficiency. But look at today, 100,000 teachers employed. What does that translate? It translates to hiring, since independence, translating to hiring 5,000 teachers every year. That was the deficiency. We have cut that deficiency. So what am I trying to tell you, Sarah? That albeit the fact that we have challenges, things are happening behind the scenes. Even though teachers cannot be behind the scenes because they are now in class.
But you see, they're not teaching if you have 2 students.
No, I was just telling you the
none.
deficit. No. The example I was giving you about the 2 students was the deficit of teachers not being available. So you would have literally, and that's why now you saw some crook, let me not call them principals or anything. You saw some crooks going places. They come up with ghost schools. They come up with ghost students. At the same time while we are fighting to really create a good pedagogy, you still have people who are looking for ways to steal and fraud and defraud the system. But anyway, we've already put in the new system where every child, biometrics will be involved. And why are we doing that? We have to use science and technology to assist us in what we are doing. That is how you fight corruption. Corruption, by the way, we will not fight it because it's been there. It has been there in the school. That one I accept. Even last time when I was here, I told you the one thing we'll never run away from as a government is saying that there is no corruption.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also before we leave education sector, somewhere, was it in September, October last year, the CS had said of ghost schools. You see, as of now, we don't know what happened to those institutions or the people involved. And the government, again, has not told us.
Their system. You are forgetting not only ghost schools, ghost students.
Yes.
They were many, millions of shillings.
So then why doesn't the government hold the people accountable and tell us?
The first thing, what government can do, is to put a system, number one, that will ensure that malady is no longer happening. Those vices are arrested. Once that system is in play, is for the other institution that is mandated by the Constitution and by the law to take over and send people to court.
So we wait. 3 months later.
Yes. Watu waanze kwenda kotini. Because what the ministry will do, will say, by the way, Principal XYZ, this is the data you gave us. Guess what? We've realized you've been defrauding the ministry. Ministry, peleka hiyo maneno kwa DPP, iende kotini. After that, you can't follow it. Imeingia kwa koti.
I know the judiciary now has to do it. It's a process. So
exactly.
But let me ask you, government really wants to take us to Singapore.
Yes.
How are you taking us to Singapore if such simple cases can't be sorted? And the one thing that Lee Kuan Yew dealt with was corruption. So if we can't deal with corruption, how are we going to get to Singapore?
You've said, and it's very serious. In fact, Sarah, you said, if we can't deal with these small cases, these cases were not small. They were not simple as you think. It was a network of cartels. Administrations have been unable to get them out. Forget even the education system. Our healthcare system, NHIF, was a cesspool of nothing but cartels. You've had stories, you've had tales. of hospitals around here saying that they were conducting 17, 20 operations in a week. Same buildings where those hospitals were held had no theater, had no operation room. But guess what? Your money, your NHIF money, was going to pay for things that never happened. On a daily basis, you're defrauded. That's not a simple system.
Yeah.
All right? How do you fix that? Today, the system that is being put in place cannot allow that level of fraud. You are caught at the planning stage. That's why the president was saying it. By the way, it was so true. It wasn't even a joke. It wasn't a banter when the president was saying you had hospitals that had nearly 20 accountants and 2 doctors.
But you're saying it cannot be done. And just a few months ago,
It is
we had
being
an
done.
issue where
Where?
we had fake hospitals. And by the way, that where we could access how much money has been sent to
Now,
hospitals. You
exactly.
know, that site we can't access as the public.
No.
So how are we going to know?
Now, the
let's say
cabinet,
Kenyatta got
no,
this amount of money.
The cabinet secretary has a dashboard. Many other people within the realm of the Ministry of Health, they have a dashboard. They know which hospitals are operating. You know, it is a system that's going to be very collaborative. Which doctor did what to who? What kind of drugs did you get?
So, as the public, will the public be able to access? Would
To
it
access
be
what?
good for the public to know? Let's say this is Kenyatta. This is the amount of money they got. This is.
I
Kiambu,
think
this
there
is
was
the
a,
amount of
I
money.
think there was a time. I
Yeah,
have
but
to
they
check on
pulled
that.
it out.
I think there was a time they had, even the minister had put that out.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd had to check with the data policy whether that needs to come out. I do not know for
'Cause
sure.
it's not patient
I do not know
data,
for sure,
it's
but
just the money.
I know there are probably other private hospitals that may say no, for because of A, B, C, we do not want our
The
what
amount
we've
of
gotten.
money given.
No. I'm just
It's
saying.
our
I'm not.
taxes.
I'm just saying. I don't know for sure, but I had to check. I'll have to check with the data, laws to see.
But
But
you think
I
it
would
would be
want.
a good
I would
idea?
want it to be in the open like that, to say that to Anateta, and they got, because I have seen printouts. I have seen it sometimes online saying this hospital got this number of millions. There was just the other day, some governor. Let me not say some governor. Actually,
If it's
he's
in
not
the
some
open,
governor.
just say it. Please.
The other day, Governor Irongo Kangata went into a church meeting, and said they were owed 200 and something, 70 or 200 and something million by SHA. The minister did not even wait 10 minutes. He produced a report and said, this is where we are in the truthful of things. You are saying this, these are the facts. That story ended. Because the system that has been implemented will call you out at the touch of a button. And that is now where we are heading. Now, when you hear us talking about Singapore, that's where we are heading. Let me tell you something, a good question that you've asked. How will we get to Singapore? Lee Kuan Yew. Sarah, Singapore did not stumble into success.
Of course.
Singapore disciplined itself to prosperity. Never forget that.
From the top.
Yes. Today, when you look at some of the systems that have been put to fight corruption, it is people, wananchi wengine, and some legislators who are going to court to stop the implementation of those systems that are being implemented to fight corruption. For instance, the e-procurement. Me and you know, greatest cash cows in government was the procurement.
Yeah.
Kila mtu. There was another guy who we all remember. At some point, he had 180 companies. And the work of those companies were just doing tendering. None of the companies, 180, could even make a nail, musumari. All of them was done. Because why? It was a free fall. Now you have a system, and people have gone to court challenging that system. One that will cover all those and we'll cover all those loopholes. Somebody goes to court to stop the implementation of that process, and they say, oh, there was no public participation. Is there public participation when people are stealing your money? No. So,
but
here
why won't you do public participation?
It has been there. It has been there.
Takes people to halls and
it's not. It's. You see, the rudimentary discussions that people throw when they are filling out those court petitions is there was no public participation.
No, but why wouldn't we do it if the law demands? Why would we? Because it's a day or two.
No, somebody came and said when it was done and how it was done. The only thing that somebody thought they were not involved or they didn't hear about it is enough grounds to challenge it. And you will find, in all unfairness, let me add, a judge issuing orders to stop it. But I don't. I want you to look. No, I want. I want you to look. Well, the judges have used the laws throughout history, and immediately you take that judgment to the Court of Appeal. It's awarded to the other person. Don't both of them use the same law?
But that's why they are different courts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It means huyu anafikiri hivi, huyu anaona njia ingine. Yeah. So the law is not absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we are still going to see more people trying to fight these systems that are being implemented because that has been their cash cow. And probably many people who've benefited and profited from that archaic method and ways of doing things will continue wanting to do that. That's why you had somebody saying that if they were to come to power, they would revert back to NHIF. You sit down and wonder, this thing was having only 8 million. That's it. Today we are heading to hit nearly 30 million registered within the SHA. Now you want what would be the reason for somebody to take you back to a place that was a cesspool of corruption, disorganization, and all manner of vices? The only answer that comes to me is they were profiteering. Anyway, the build-up I've just told you to Singapore, a lot of discipline. And let me tell you, Sarah, this one I've learned as a student of governance. Discipline, when we talk about discipline, it does not mean somebody has cut your freedoms. As a matter of fact, discipline leads you directly to the doors of freedom. And in many cases, nearly 100%, it leads you to success.
Okay.
The discipline that you encompass today, you as Sarah, if you say you want to become an academic giant, you want to be a professor, the discipline required ni wewe na vitabu. That is how you will achieve the freedom of calling yourself a professor or a doctor. If today I want to be one of the best soccer players, well, my age is advanced, but I'm saying, if a young man wants the freedom of choosing which world club they'll play for, the discipline required is for them to work on their talent, to work on their nutrition, to work on their, the whole shebang. It requires a lot of discipline. And where they'll arrive at, Sarah, is the freedom to choose because everybody will be wanting them.
And
that is the discipline
comes with accountability.
Correct. It can never be. In fact, discipline and accountability, they go hand in hand. Yeah.
Very important. I went through the president's Twitter account, and he said the other, I think, somewhere either 10th or 11th, there was a signing of 40 billion contract for the construction of Galana Kulalu Dam.
Irrigation.
Yes, which is supposed to irrigate about 300 acres in Tana River and Kilifi counties. That's very promising. But where are we with Galana? We harvested, I think, was it 70,000 something tons? But where is that maize? Like,
It's
when you
being
harvest, where do you
consumed.
take it?
It's being consumed by.
Where?
Do you know? Do
Like,
you know?
do we really know how much
Do you know for the
maize was
first time?
harvested?
Do you know for the first time? We hit an all-time production of maize. We
In
hit
Galana?
75. No, countrywide, nationwide. Galana also contributing heavily.
How much?
I know I have the numbers I can show you, but I know we hit about 70, right? Last year we did nearly 75, if I'm not wrong, between 70 and 75 million bags. It's never happened like that. Yeah? So here is an intervention, again, strategic intervention that says we need this amount of food to feed the nation. Why? As we were coming in, this administration, when it was coming in, Sarah, you will agree with me. We had strikes. We had people in the streets wearing bakulis on their heads saying unga. That was the theme, was it not? Last year, was it there? It wasn't. Why? Watu walikuwa wameshiba. That is an intervention. When the president said that he had a serious plan, indeed it was. Let me tell you, moving from where we were, to do 30, 40 million bags to 75, that's a huge leap. The intervention done was something very simple. It was very simple. When the president was saying, we need to look at subsidizing production, not subsidizing consumption, because in any case, that was tried. There was a time in the last administration they tried subsidizing consumption. Unga came to, said, unga from now on, unga will be 100 shillings. That thing did not last more than a month. But look at the sustainability of subsidizing production. Today, we are talking about between 70 and 75 million bags in 1 year. Now, tell you what. It is very clear to the students who are deep in agriculture, to the people who understand large-scale farming, it is very clear to them that we cannot continue depending on rainfall. That is why the president instituted a major undertaking of dams and irrigation.
How different will it be with Kimwarel, Arol and Kimwarel? Because he was part of the previous government.
Yes.
And again, they instituted the same project and we lost billions and now we did not see the dam. So how different will it be this time?
Let me answer that because you've asked. I personally, with these two legs of mine, I've gone to Itare Dam. And when I went there, it was sometimes last year or the year before. And Sarah, what I saw there is a lot of wastage, rot. Machines worth billions. Some of the best earth-moving machines were rotting in the yards. Aror and Kimorer, you heard people talk about it many times. Do you believe it was political? It was nothing else than
so
politics.
There was no
playing
money stolen?
Nothing. None. It was politics. It was... And you know, the tragedy about that is that it was at the detriment of the Kenyan taxpayers.
So what does it say about the auditors' reports of back then?
With regards to?
Aror and Kimwarel.
You know...
Because it says money.
Sarah, so many people have talked about Aror and Kimwarel, including the line that people are trying to push, that the current president was involved, that he wanted this, he wanted that. So many people sat. I even remember an interview where our current DG of NIS, when he was DPP, was questioned about Aror and Kimwarel. And he blatantly said it had nothing to do with him. Zero. That is somebody who had facts. It was political. Trust me, it was political. Same way somebody the other day talked about e-citizen and said some money were missing. And myself, in fact, I was included, and the DG. And the day you invite him, he will even tell you more about that. There was really no money missing. All that happened was there was delay in documentation. And what happened was, I think it was one of the MDAs. Their documentation had not arrived, and so there was a delay. And I think with the Auditor General, when there is no documentation, they say this money cannot be found. Yeah, probably that is the right language because they don't have the documentation. But that does not necessarily mean any money was lost. And the DG came out and said it is the hardest. In fact, I've seen, even on the dashboard, it is the hardest thing, Sarah, to take or to misappropriate money on e-citizen. It is the hardest. Because number one, every MDA has a portal. They have a dashboard. They know how much money they are making. For instance, citizen services, passports. They know these people have applied for passports using the e-citizen. We have 800,000 applicants this quarter. This is the money we have. They follow. So that means a citizen cannot take a coin because there are other people following. And this money goes directly. Once you pay, the system is very robust. Once you pay, the money goes directly to Treasury. No longer the case where people would use money at source. It no longer happens.
So are you trying to say there's no corruption in governments?
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying the systems that are being implemented day by day are closing the loopholes of corruption. By the way, when the president said, "Hapa kutakuwa na pesa ya kuiba," he meant it. And that's why the implementation of these systems are weeding out corrupt merchants on a daily basis. I don't know whether you visited Nyayo House lately. You remember you used to have people walking around the corridors. Long gone. There's nobody. Because once you interact with the system, the next thing you go is get your biometrics. And then you wait for between 7 and 14 days. That's efficiency.
Yeah.
That's how things will work. Why do you need to see anybody else? Why do you need to pay somebody? When your passport, it details very well between 7 and 14 days. I mean, you get your passport. And people who are going...
That's an achievement we all see of the government. So now the government needs to take that everywhere. Because
there are so many you do not know. Let me tell you. Mukulima. Mukulima. I come from a family of farmers. What they used to do, you used to wait and go to the... Kwenda kutafuta fertilizer. And here you had cartels. You had somebody who had an acre, but you used to ask for 20 bags of fertilizer. Now it's no longer the case. You have people who have gone, they've looked at the land, and this 6 million, heading to 7 million farmers who receive fertilizer. Guess what happens? It comes on their phone. Technology comes on their phone. And guess what? They are told, Madam Sarah, go pick your 3 bags of fertilizer.
True. That is very true. But I want to give you feedback on, there's a documentary that was done by African Uncensored of farmers, actually. It's very good. I give you live feedback. So when you go back, you have first-hand information. It's called The Seed Syndicate. You need to watch it, yes. So it was about getting seeds and fertilizer and how there are corrupt people in government in those same systems you've put. It was posted a month ago.
I'll go look at it.
Yeah,
I'll go look at
because it's very important to help you with that project.
I'll go look at it. Remember we had issues of fertilizer when we started. You remember we had fertilizer with rocks. You remember?
Yes.
And people made a story out of it. But let me tell you,
it was not a story. It was
no. I mean, people raised, corruption. Ilikuwa na mawe fertilizer, ilikuwa na mawe nini.
But you don't see that's corruption.
But
so even citizens are allowed to raise an alarm so that you also fix the systems, right?
At what point? Remember, when we were talking about the 5,000 bags, we had successfully given out or supplied out nearly 6 million bags of fertilizer that had no issue. What's the percentage of that? 0.00 something. Okay, on the percentage side of things...
Does the percentage...
on the percentage side of things, you may say, okay, it is too small. But We solved that problem. Have you had that issue again?
At least it's not come back.
It's not
so you
come
see,
back.
if people
So
didn't
as we
raise
go
the
along,
issue, it would have been
as we go
harder for
along,
you to
as we go,
fix.
you see, as we go along, as we go along, there are things that don't even come out and we fixed them. Yeah? Whether it's in our healthcare sector, whether it's in the tea and coffee and milk industry, because that was another industry that was run by cartels. The middlemen, people who did not have land or they were not growers, but they were the ones calling the shots. They are no longer there. Today, quality being also a deciding factor. You'll have a farmer who gets maybe 100 shillings from a kilo yake ya majani, and another one, because of their quality, they get 400. That was not the case before. Farmers out there are telling you, by the way, this was not the case. There is something seriously that has taken effect. So back to that question of yours, how are we going to realize Singapore with all these issues? Remember, Singapore was not realized in a day. They put up very stringent principles and a high level of discipline. Sarah, will I want to one day drive my car all the way from Limuru to Westlands and not hit one single speed bump? I would love that. But why are there speed bumps? To control me from speeding. Is there another way that can be used technologically? Am I disciplined enough when I'm told it's 80 kilometers an hour that I observe that speed? The government can put many signboards, but are we disciplined enough? And many people I saw calling, Lee Kuan Yew, oh man, this guy, oh, dictator. It got to a point you could not spit and throw, oh, chew gum. Why? The level of discipline that Singapore encompassed is the one that led them to become who they were. Are we ready for it as Kenyans? I believe we are. And how are we going to achieve this? Is if all of us collaborate and understand that this is the kind of future we need for us and our children. Can we get there with what the president said about 20, 30 years? Sometimes I believe in 20 years we can make a major impact that will put Kenya on another level. Let me tell you something. Many people don't talk about Singapore because I've studied Singapore very, very well. I didn't start the other day. So, 1965, Sarah, they are annexed from Malaysia. You've read that story.
Yes.
Even us, I don't think we were annexed from anything. And I really do not think we were left in such a situation. 90% of your population are so poor, they cannot afford to feed themselves. Isitoshe, half of their water, drinking water, was coming from Malaysia. 95% of their food, chakula ya kukula, was coming from Malaysia. You've been annexed. And here you have a guy called Lee Kuan Yew, who looks at you after, they say in that book, they say he did not hide himself. But he went and closed himself for 6 days. And I would want to know, what was he thinking in those 6 days? What was going through his mind?
Do you know what was going where he came and carried these government officials to the ocean and came back alone?
No. You know what was going through his mind? I can tell you. Transformation. You take a country from a swamp. And he said, in 10 years, this will not be there. So when the president tells us, guys, in 10 years, we can do away with these slums using the same principle and model, why won't you believe him? We have seen it. The other day, sorry to say this, and I pick when people say things. Sometimes I look and I really cringe. Did he just say that? I had a governor stand on the podium in front of a microphone and say, no, we don't need these houses. We need industries. Sarah, I put on a question to you. In Nairobi, do we have industries? Yes, we do. Viwandani, industrial area. Now, tell me what kind of dwellings surround industrial area? Are they not slums? If you look from the north, the west, the east and south, every morning if you drive in Nairobi or going downtown, who do you meet? But people, wait a minute, what's that?
No,
people
why
trekking.
Do you think those people are in slums?
People trekking, let me tell you, people trekking to industrial area. Wait a minute. trekking to industrial area, yeah, to work. When they go back to the shanty that they live in, every month they pay.
Yes.
Now listen to this. The affordable housing, a principle borrowed, because this is what Singapore did. 80% of the population live in government houses, built by government. Those affordable units we are talking about. You have now people in those areas who are living in slums today, paying less in a great apartment, a good house, running water, decent living, playground, naisitoshe. They have a police inside. They have a fire station. They have a supermarket. They have a hospital. It's a model mini city of what any country would want. They own that house in the next years to come. That house will belong to them. As much as they pay, the amount of money they are paying in Kibra and in Mathare and in Korogosho, you know, that will never belong to them. No, I just want you to see the genius of somebody saying.
I have no problem with the housing project.
And then, no, I was just telling you about that, why it rattled many people when the governor said, oh, no, we'll do this instead of this.
The rattle of this project is not even because of the housing. It's because it's people who are paying for it who won't buy the same houses. That's basically it. And I think the government, by now, you've known that part. But I'm asking you, why do you think people live in slums?
So obviously, and it's a good question that you've asked, because I've lived in Mathare.
Why?
Growing up. Why is number one thing is that is the place you can afford. That's number one. Yeah? Number two, many people will come and tell you, sasa jukazi imekosa. With our hustle kidogo, which is usually the number one, wewe na wewe, we can raise about 5,000. The only house that's available ni pale number 10 ama Mathare 4A ama nyumba ya 4,000. And as population moves in search of well-paying jobs or in terms of setting up a small biashara, the place that they can afford to dwell is the slums. Because let me tell you, Sarah, slums also grow by design, if you've never known. Yeah? The service industry, like Viwandani industrial area, the service industry calls for, okay, this is, maybe you can say the wages are not as hefty as other major corporations. And somebody will say, okay, every month here I only get 20,000. A good house in Nairobi starts at 30,000. I can never afford. So by design, the slum continues
to grow.
Continues to grow, very good. And as time goes, another person doing a small biashara says the only profit, my profit when I calculate everything, it comes to about 40,000. Getting a good house again in Nairobi, this is what I'll pay. So when they look at what they are making, hata wale wamekuja kuhaso, hawana kitu wanaona makao kwanza. That is why housing is a very well thought out plan. And that is why it's happening in all counties. So, and also the data that we have, it is good that I tell you this data. It tells us in the next 15 years, 60%, heading to 70% of the young men and women will move into urban centers. Not necessarily Nairobi, all urban centers.
And where they're moving is to look for capital, right?
It could be
access to capital.
Yes,
usually the bigger.
Yes, access to capital, good jobs, or
Which
whatever.
is capital at the end
Yes,
of the day.
yes.
So then what is the government doing
the
to
reason-
ensure this capital accessibility becomes more accessible, not just to these Form 4 leavers who can access maybe Nyota, but now past Form 4 to campus, we have a lot of graduates in between there who again,
We churn out nearly
know what
800. We
you're
churn out
planning.
about 800,000
Annually.
every year.
So what has happened in
So,
the last 3-4 years?
Let me tell you. No.
For that
Not
market.
what has happened. Let me tell you, Sarah, this is a very good conversation, by the way. So what has happened in the last 3-4 years? No. It's what has happened in the last 20 years.
That's true.
Okay?
Yes.
The thing is this, why I told you we have to leapfrog. The president, you've noticed, he initiated many interventions, on his bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Key among them, apart from the housing, apart from this issue we've talked about, MSMEs, Nyota and Hustler Fund, we now have that infrastructure, building of roads and markets. Yeah? It's very integral, and I'll tell you how it comes to play. You come to the fiber connectivity, looking at 100,000 kilometers of connecting the country digitally. Yeah? And I'll come to each. Then, obviously, the elephant in the room, power and our cost of production. Why do you think it has become now a serious debate and subject when the president talks about power? Because what we've had throughout the years is not enough to take us to where those young men and women
That's true.
can be grateful that we have a robust economy. That's why some of these things I told you, we are leapfrogging. And that's why when the president said or says he does not have time for side shows, is because he has trained his sights on where Kenya needs to be. When we get power right, we will have started talking about major manufacturing. And it has to be done. When we've connected the country digitally, it means you don't have to leave your house to work for an American company or a British company or a company in Asia. You'll be waking up to do your duty, and guess what? Immediately at the end of the week or 2 weeks, or depending on how you've agreed, pesa inaingia kwa account yako. We've talked about 500, right now, 500, is it? Yeah. 500, between 500 to 530,000 young Kenyans who have left for labor mobility. And many people who are saying, oh, why should they leave? Why don't we create space here in Kenya? By the way, that is ignorance of the highest order. The outside market is looking high in demand of some of the qualities we have as Kenyans. Why would we say no to that?
Let me take you back to energy before we go to labor exports. Last year, Ethiopia launched the Gad Dam, which is like the biggest. And our president was actually there, among those invited to see during the launch.
Yes.
But the most interesting thing is that they did not borrow even a coin to construct that dam. We want to do smaller dams because obviously we won't get to that level for obvious reasons.
Who told you wouldn't get there?
No, as in terms of having one that size.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors that come with it. Are we planning to borrow to construct dams, or are there lessons we have taken from Ethiopia to do our dams?
You know, sometimes I say, my president, in a way, has been very unlucky. And I'll tell you why. I think he's the first president in the history of our country. He's the first president who does not have the ceiling to borrow. Ceiling every other president has had. It's not that, listen, take this point very well.
But you know we've borrowed.
Wait. You can't compare. that strategic borrowing you can't compare with what other presidents have borrowed. But with the kind of undertaking we want to do, we have to look at other avenues. And that is why, Sarah, the Singapore model comes into play a lot. Because they didn't borrow. So how did they do it? Guess what they did? Their own savings. Last time I was here, I don't know whether I told you or not. Since independence, our savings, NSSF savings, were at 320 billion tops since independence. Just 2 years ago. In 2 years. 204, 205. In just 2 years, we've doubled that amount. Why? If we can double that amount we've had since independence, and we double it in 2 years, what can we do in 10, 20 years? We will not need to borrow a shilling from anybody to do our development and our infrastructure. 20 years. No, yeah. But guess what?
Are we going to borrow to build dams or not?
With the way we are going, I think not. With the way we are going. If we are getting to a point we are not even borrowing, we will not borrow for roads. We will be taking from our NHIF and NSSF.
Futuristic.
It's not futuristic. It's not futuristic.
To build
it's not. Listen, it's not. It's not futuristic. Yeah, it is where we are starting. It's where we are starting. We are looking at other collaborative engagements, like what? PPPs. Yeah, they've worked elsewhere. They can work here. Look at the expressway. Ilijengwa na pesa ya mwananchi?
No.
Exactly.
But technically, yes.
Wait. It's not about technically.
No, but technically.
No, it's not about technically, yes. No. Because I do not need to burden my folks wale wako ushago with paying for a road they'll never use. You get the point? Let Sarah and the Gabriels of this Nairobi, who wants to drive nicely without traffic, wafike airport ama wafike Syokimau, to pay for that road. Yeah? When they need to use it. Those are models that can work in Kenya if we are going to be disciplined enough. Sorry, so what am I telling you? We go back to self-sustaining. This country, Kenya, with the vision of His Excellency the President, can actually become self-sustaining. And that is where we are going. We can fund, with time, we are going to fund any development that we want done. It is the true genius of what Singapore became. And that's why I told you, they did not stumble to success. They curated through discipline. They walked into success. So we have, Sarah, I believe over the years, we've had people who will always engage on matters politics. And to an extent, I believe we fail a lot because sometimes politics takes center stage. It was just the other day I heard a senator from here, Kiambu, saying that we cannot go to Singapore. And he's telling people, you people, we cannot go to Singapore. We should not go to Singapore because Singapore does not have coffee, so they don't want us to have coffee. Singapore does not have tea, so they don't want us to have tea. With all due respect, the smallness of that thinking and the weight of such mediocrity is what will blind many from understanding the grand vision that this country needs to have. And sometimes it's unfortunate because the people who utter these words, me and you would expect are knowledgeable, that they've traveled around the world. They understand things. But now they've fashioned themselves to mislead. I'll tell you something that came to realize at a very tender age that the weight of a nation is her universal appeal, and to an extent, a larger extent materially, and what they have to offer. So what is this that Kenya must become, that Singapore became, that everybody wants a piece of it, everybody wants to invest there? What must we build?
That's a big question.
And the infrastructure is going up by the day. What investors want?
Okay.
Listen, that our cities are becoming cleaner by the day. What investors want? That we have fewer or no slums. Something investors want. Our cities becoming safer. That is what investors want.
Clean, does Nairobi count?
We do not, Sarah, we do not have an option.
But are we clean?
We must be. Even if we are not, we must be. And guess what? That's why I keep insisting. We must have a starting point. And I am so glad that when I'm sitting down with you this morning, I can tell you the horse has already bolted.
Okay.
There's no turning back on that. If we are going to hold people, the people we've elected in Nairobi, tuambie hii Nairobi, it must be clean. Mombasa hii yetu must be clean. Nakuru hii yetu must be clean. Kisumu hii yetu. Every city in Kenya must be clean. That me and you today, that whenever we get into, we must observe rules and laws. So be it. But remember, as we talk about government doing things, it may look like a big percentage, but it's a small percentage. Because the heavy support required is the civil support, is the social support. Are we, me and you, Sarah, are we ready to conform? Are we ready to follow the rules? Remember what I told you when we began. It is the discipline that will give us the freedom of what we want.
True. That grand vision requires a lot of small steps that begin from the people. But as we come to an end, I Shall Speed was in Kenya a few days ago.
Yes.
And the creative economy has a lot of questions on the support accorded to him. Obviously, he's a world star, so it may not be the same.
Exactly.
But there are concerns about opening up spaces for the creative economy, because at the end of the day, these guys are doing this for country. For instance, if I had a chopper, if I came to you and I told you I want you to help me hire a chopper, and I hired, can we land at KICC for filming for free? As he was accorded. If I wanted to go film at Giraffe Center, no, that's a private, let's say the National Park.
Yes.
As a creative, what I'm doing is supposed to sell Kenya. So why am I being charged for these things? You know,
good question.
What's the...
Well, I don't know about the charges or what will be charged, obviously.
No, it's charged.
I know it's charged. But I don't know, you saying you'll get it for free. I don't know. You have to speak to the minister on that one. But let me tell you something that happened in December. And probably you may have seen it on the news, on social media. Our good friend, Mr. Dennis Itumbi, was able to unlock a very great collaboration with the artists who actually make part, of creatives, where now their money will be paid through eCitizen. And most of them were so happy because this is what they've been wanting for the longest. Much of the money that they make were going to the wrong people. In fact, it appeared like that the people who are receiving the money on behalf of the artists, it appeared like there was a lot of cartelism in it. But now, that has been straightened. I just needed to mention that because it was an amazing initiative. When it comes to, I Shall Speed, he made young people run around in this country. And I'm glad, just by reading, it's actually my son who was telling me that he was in town. He actually went to see him. My son really went to see him, and they've been following him. What this man has done, really, if we are to be honest, he has created a very big space for himself. And if you looked at it, it has a lot to do with what he streams. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah? I even saw some of his videos where he's in Europe and people are shouting, crazy words at him, showing him a banana. He didn't care. But look at the kind of following that he commands with his streams. And as I was reading, I realized one thing. He does not propel negative news. Did you realize that? I'm not saying anybody should, but that's a piece that misses from his work for good. His content is very clean, if you will. Yeah? So by reading, I saw those were some of his principles. He does not dwell in negative matters. And so his stream being clean, he's able to take many people want to join into that bandwagon. So that really stood out. And I'm even glad that he showcased what Kenya has to the outside world.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is government willing to support the creative economy enough to support? Like waiver some of these licenses for filming. Because if today let's say we were doing this conversation at the national park.
Yeah.
Am I the one getting the value per se as a person? Because if guests come, who gets the money?
Yeah, correct.
So that's the idea I'm looking at.
No, it's an avenue to look into, by the way, when you talk about licensing. I mean, I would expect that if you're streaming something beneficial to this great country of ours, I believe you can reach to a certain agreement, Somebody with such a huge following, again, Sarah, if you have to be honest, he will be treated in such a way that, I'm sorry, that's how things
His is
happen.
a wild market.
Yeah.
We have Kenyans with big following who
Yes.
would want to, we've seen a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
We've seen people like Terrence, we've seen people
Yes.
like Inanjugush,
Yes,
These
yes,
are
yes,
people who
yes.
would market this country to a level.
Yes.
And that does not mean we lock away the younger creators. You see,
Yes.
like now, CBD nowadays, if you
Correct.
want a photo,
Yes.
So why won't we
and I
do
see
the
that
same
even
for
on
the
Sundays,
park? Yeah.
even on Sundays, yeah.
such that if I go to National Park,
You
all
can-
I need to pay is entrance.
Yes.
Then I can film within the rules of the park, something.
Oh, no, I agree
so
with
that
you.
it changes
No, I agree with
the-
you. It's a conversation that needs to be had. And I think with the right people, obviously from where I sit,
You're on
I'm
the
not
right
the-
tables.
No, I'm not the one to call shots, in such a manner. But I think the Ministry of Tourism it's good to engage with local content creators and see, can they reach to an agreement where if you want to, in any case, you're selling your country, you're selling, and I would expect you have a huge following within and without. So I think there's a way you can reach to an agreement and say, this is what we would expect from you. What would you offer? This is what you stand to gain. This is what I stand to gain. But I think as we move along and the opening of the digital space that we have in Kenya, I think you'll agree with me that it's not what it used to be. Yeah? And not only because of high liberalization, it's also because of some of the interventions the government has been able to do. Let's take this internet to the remotest places in Kenya, that anybody can be able to create good content that people didn't know he can be able to show people, guys, this is where I am, this is what happens in my neck of the woods. You can learn from this, ABC. I've seen a few guys, somebody was sending me something of some people, I think in Turkana or those areas. And I was like, wow, this is serious. You would not have seen it, a few years ago.
Yeah.
But now you're able to even learn, a thing or two. So I think as it opens up, Sarah, I hope our local content creators can reach to an agreement with ministry officials and say, this is what we have. We can showcase, and they agree in a way.
Okay.
Do something, yeah.
Government policies again make them friendly to the people.
They
for a
must
reason.
be.
Yes.
They must be.
All right.
But also remember, we must be disciplined enough.
We are disciplined enough. I think if we're adding value to a country, that's discipline enough by itself. But Gabriel, thank you so much for coming through.
It's
been
always an
amazing
honor, Sarah. It's
conversation.
always an honor.
We have to do this because we do it for the people. People
True.
need to know what government is
True.
doing, and also
True.
government needs to tell us
Yeah.
if it's doing something, because if they stay silent, we won't know.
That is true.
If we don't ask questions, the people will also just move, blindly. So thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Maybe final word to our viewers.
Yeah, I mean, we've started the year with a lot of pomp and color. When you walk along Gong Road, you see a magnificent building that's coming up. It's just about to get finished. Yeah, I'm talking about the Talanta Stadium. I know many people have been taking pictures and spreading them around. I personally never thought I would see such an undertaking in my time, but it's here. We are looking forward to AFCON next year. Very soon, we're also looking forward to, I know, the Magical Open, Kenya Magical Open, I think next month. And in March, the historic Safari Rally is back, in our calendar. So there are so many things we need to look forward to. But as we engage, I think, to our viewers, mine would be to support the vision that the administration has. I keep telling people, what would the alternative be? Somebody was saying, what would be our alternative for the next 20, 30, 40 years? And I think if we were to really think critically, we would all arrive at the same stage. We want a Kenya where all of us can be grateful to call it a country, number one. Number two, we would want, all of us, high quality of life. We would want the best healthcare money can afford or can get. We would want good schools. We want a great education system. We want everything that we want. We want a good airport, all the infrastructure, all the bells and whistles that make a country great. This is what we want, all of us. Question is, how do we get there? How we get there, I've told you, is through a lot of discipline, and obviously following the laws of the land that have been laid down to us. And I believe that is how we would get to the Singapore that we'll all want.
All right. Hope we get there together. If we're in this country still, but thank you.
We shall be in this country.
We will be there. We will be there to see. Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next episode. Hopefully we get to experience Singapore together.
We will experience it.
Thank you.